everyone, and welcome back to Art a la Carte. So this video is right before Christmas, and it's not really a Christmas-based video. I decided that really to try to do a Christmas-based video and post it on Christmas Eve is kind of counterproductive because yeah, it's only a day until Christmas. So instead I decided to do a video that might focus on things you would like to learn how to do with all those new art supplies that you got for Christmas. So this is going to be how to draw some anime eyes because I get this request so much. And then how to color them with a marker, like an alcohol-based marker. I've had so many of you guys commenting on that, the fact that you're going to be getting Copic markers for a Christmas gift and how you're going to use them. So hopefully this will give you some ideas on how to use Copic markers versus how to, if you were going to color it with just regular markers or paints or color pencils. So let's get into the actual drawing tutorial, which I've already pretty much drawn one eyeball, so let's look at this. First, let me just say there are gazillions of ways and styles and techniques to draw eyes. This is just one of them, so take what you want from this tutorial or this video and just create your own and have fun with it. But what I do is I start off with a basic circle shape for the eye, and you'll see that I'm drawing two eyes because I want a pair of eyes, and one of them is going to be slightly smaller than the other just because I'm going to, if I was going to fully draw this face out, it's looking in a 3/4 angle, which is another thing that a lot of you guys ask me is how do you get those eyes to kind of match up if you're having the head turned. Just remember, as things are moving farther away from you, they become smaller in size, and that even in the smallest little portion of that, when you have your face turned, that far eye is a little, just tiny bit smaller. To get a good anime or manga style eye is you're going to really focus more on the eyelashes, the upper eyelid and the bottom eyelid a little bit to create the actual shape of your eye. The color part of your eye, the iris, is going to play a big part, but then with the whites of your eyes, you're really not going to outline that part so much. You're going to let the coloring of the skin and the eyelashes themselves kind of create that natural contrast and dimension shape thing that you want to go with. And I'm putting in the pupils and then not forgetting to draw in or sketch in where I want to create that shine. It's really important to kind of have a clear idea where you want your whitest whites, so the white of the eyes and the shine of the eyes, so that when you begin to add color later on in this drawing, you're not coloring over top of them. You can whiten it again, sometimes with a white color pencil or a white gel pen, or even some like white gouache, but if you can keep it white from the start, it really is quite helpful. So once I have my eyelashes out, and again, there's a ton of styles of eyelashes out there, so I kind of have more of the thick shaped eyelashes rather than the individual eyelashes. And you'll also notice that I have a very small line for the upper lid, kind of like the lid crease when you open your eyes. There's a little tiny line where the lid kind of folds back. Some people don't have them, but I like to draw them in there. I'm going to go ahead and add some eyebrows just because eyebrows really help to express emotion in the drawing. Now I get a lot of people asking me, why do I draw with a blue colored pencil? The answer is simple, because I like to. That's pretty much the reason. You can draw with whatever kind of pencil. I would make it something that you can erase so that later you can go and clean up the drawing however you want to. So now it's time I'm going to begin to add in some colors, and I'm using some Copic markers. What I'm going to start with first is my very lightest tone of color. For this one, I'm using a VO4, which is a really, really bright, fun purple, and I'm coloring the whole eye with this. So this first eye is going to be kind of a more simple technique, and then I'll do another one later on in this video that's a little bit more intensive, a little bit more challenging. So if you like this one, you want something a little bit more challenging, you can stay to the end of this video for that one. After I get the lightest shade in there, then I'm going to go in with the darkest shade. For the darkest shade, I'm using a Y09. And I'm going to apply that where I want the shadows and kind of the top of the eyelid where the shadow of the upper eyelid is going to be across the eye itself. Then I'm going to get a nice mid-tone, which I'm using a V17 to kind of blend those two a little bit together. Now the trick with Copic markers is you don't want to just totally cover up what you've done before. So you'll notice I'm keeping some of the parts, a very small part, that original VO4. But I am using my mid-tone to kind of blend those together to get a nice gradient effect. After I get that, then it's time to kind of clean up my drawing a little bit and then begin to add in the lighter tones for other areas of the drawing. So one is like the shadows in the whites of the eyes, which is something we often forget, that the whites of the eyes generally aren't white. They have a bit of a color or a shadow to them. So adding a little bit of a tone, I use a T0 for the tone on that, just gives them a little bit of depth and also helps to pop out that white shine. I'm going to go ahead for this one and kind of show you quickly how I would then add in skin tones and keep that away from the whites of the eyes. And using the skin tones to contrast with the whites of the eyes, so it actually kind of outlines them without actually having to go in and ink those in. Now, of course, you can ink this drawing in before you color it if you want to, but I decided to just do it over top of the pencil. The eyelashes and eyebrows are going to be something that I'm going to do last, simply because if you put in a Copic marker and then go over it with a lighter tone, it's going to blend out, so you're going to get that smudged look. So if you want to outline something, make sure you're using a lining pin that doesn't smear once it's dry. Copic multi-liners work great. Also, the Sakura brand multi-liners work really great as well. Another really great thing about Copic markers is once they're dry, you can go over top of them again with colored pencils to pull out some extra highlights. Now, depending on the type of colored pencil you have, whether it's a wax-based colored pencil, will depend on if you can go over top of the colored pencil with a marker. So I'm using a Prismacolor colored pencils, which are wax-based, and they kind of repel any kind of liquid. So a Copic marker doesn't like to go on top of that, so you kind of have to work with that a little bit. So this kind of gives you a quick overview of how I color eyes, but I want to create one more eye again just to show you the step-by-step and then add a little bit more detail into the shading of it. I'm just going to do one this time just because this video is already pretty long, so I'm just going to do one eye and change the style up just a little bit. So for this eye, again, I am still using my basic shapes to kind of build up the eye. So a tip for sketching, a lot of times we get too set on finding that precise line at the beginning of the sketching. You'll see my lines are all over the place. I find if I hold my pencil loosely and just really kind of give my eye a lot of options for lines, then I can go back through after I have all the lines placed and really kind of clean up the drawing and pick the line that works best. As long as you're using a very light pressure, this works great. If you have a really heavy hand and you are, digging in your pencil into your paper, you're going to find it really challenging to erase and clean up. So I do have a couple tips for helping you to use a lighter hand. So if you're having trouble with that, I will try to make a video on some things you can do to kind of help retrain yourself to not hold the pencil so harsh or push the pencil as harshly. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss out on that. So now it's time to add some color. So for this one, I want to make a green eye, but I want to make a lot of kind of glowing gradients in this. So for the pupil of the eye, which would normally just be black, I'm first going in with a really light gray, and I'm going to use a G00, and then around the outer edges of the pupil I'm going to begin to apply some darker tones. So I'm using some G16 and even some BG18. And then I'm going back through with that with a BG13 to kind of blend that out. And as it gets finished, you'll see that it just has kind of a reflective, glowing kind of light. It's kind of more of a magical eye. So if you're creating like a fairy or a mermaid or some creature that you want a little mystery with, creating an eye that has a reflective glow in it can be kind of fun. So for the actual iris of the eye, I'm going in with a slightly darker tone. So I do start off with a G00, but a lot of a BG34. But around the outer edges of the iris, I'm kind of creating a really dark line that I'm going to blend in. So again, I'm using my BG49. And as I work up towards the top of the eye, I'm really going to create this cast shadow. So as light is coming down on the face, the eyelid is the upper eyelid will cast a shadow onto the eyeball itself, creating a little bit more shadow at the top of the eye and more highlight at the bottom of the eye. So this is something I really recommend playing around with if you haven't done a lot of coloring with eyeballs. This can be a really fun one to just sketch a whole bunch of eyeballs and color them and just practice getting that kind of glow and shine and reflective light. Also, just looking at other photos or other drawings that people have done to see how they create that can really be helpful. I didn't want to have any direct black with this one, so instead of creating the eyelashes with a black, I used a mixture of blues and reds. So for the blue, I used my darkest blue that I have, which is a B39, I believe. And then I also went over it with a maroon red, which I think I used my RV99. And that kind of just created a nice black. Once I finished the eyelashes, then I could go back in with a gel pen and add some extra highlights over top of my darker shines. So there we go. A couple of different ways to draw eyes and use your Copic markers. I'm super excited. Something else I'm super excited about, if you missed last Saturday's video, I had kind of a video scavenger hunt where you guys could go through 2 of my videos and see if you could find a hidden link where you could download a coloring page of this Christmas horse and then color it. And I asked you guys to either tag me in your photos or you could email me the photos, and these are some of the drawings that you guys have sent me. I love doing this. We've done this twice now. Choosing these little themes for you guys to showcase your artwork with is really fun. So if you enjoy these kind of art challenge videos, let me know in the comment section below what theme do you think I should give you guys for the next challenge. I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me in this video, and I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas or holiday season. And until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye!